Welcome to exercise 3 of What Can I Paint Next art course. I'm Jill Nicholas and we're going to be looking at the figure again today, and we're going to be looking at what the figure is doing. So we've started off with the figure as a noun, we then added adjectives describing the figure. Now we're going to look at what the figure is actually doing in the picture, in the painting, the verbs. So that's how it links in with learning language. That's how it's going to link in with the exploration of language as a spoken language and exploration of language as visual language, art. I'm going to start with a figure. I'm going to stay with the self-portrait, but this is going to be a full-length figure. This here is a picture my sister took when we did a little photo shoot with some of the scarves and things that I had made with my paintings on. That pose to me is a figure doing something that I can actually use. Whilst I'm looking at a figure, I'm not going to paint it exactly as it is. I'm going to be changing the background slightly, changing the atmosphere about it, maybe changing the colour scheme so it doesn't have a blue sky, because I want to capture more of the atmosphere. I'll explain what I'm doing using a planning sheet. So here we go. Exercise 3 planning sheet. First of all, the figure. Figure is self-portrait, full length figure. Description. See, this is where I actually need to start thinking, because it makes you really tighten in on what is it about that picture that's drawn you in the first place. So what adjectives? Flowing, highlighted, light, airy. You may not agree with some of these adjectives as well. You may look at that as well. I don't see anything like that. But it's what's in my head that counts, and it's what's in your head when you're doing yours that counts. That's what you're trying to capture. So, actions. This is the new section. This is the section where we're looking at the verbs, the doing words as such. So what am I actually doing in this? Well, I'm standing. Let's make that more precise. I'm balancing. I'm dancing. Moving. Flowing could actually be description or a verb in this case. I'll leave it in descriptive. Flowing, they will be okay actually. Yeah, I'm happy with those. Right, sources. This is a photograph taken by my sister. Now, you may be thinking, well, in the course I keep saying get models, do this, do that, always work from life. Because I'm making videos of this, because I'm actually putting this out for people to see, I've got to be careful that I don't put anything out there that people will in the future say, well, I don't want to be in that anymore. So that's why I'm using myself as the main model. And when I'm working as self-portrait, I can either use a mirror or photographs. So rather than use a mirror for an action, which, yeah, and painting on video, yeah, I'm using photographs. And when my sister took these, she took them with the purpose of me being able to use them for anything I want them for. Photograph taken by my sister. Materials. I'm going to do acrylics again. I'm going to start looking at a colour palette now because I did say I'm going to move away from a bright blue sky. So I'm going to put reds, orange, yellow colour palette. So I'm already thinking about what I'm trying to capture in the painting before I even start. Right, the surface, canvas, portrait. When I say portrait, I mean like portrait or landscape, as in which way round is it? 30 centimetres by 40 centimetres. Time estimate, I'm going to go 5 or 6 hours because of the size, and I'm going to do some detail on this, but I'm not going to go into lots of detail. I want it quite impressionistic, this. I'm going to try and capture the movement, because the actions I'm trying to capture are the balancing, so it's all getting the movement right, the moving, the dancing, flowing, light, airy. So, line. There's not going to be much line at all in this, too, because I'm going for the texture of the paint rather than the line. Tone. 3. The tone of the body compared to the background, I need to make sure I get those right. The body itself is actually, it's the shadows that are creating the form against the light background, and that's, so tone, I've got to keep that in mind, that distance, by bringing it forward with the dark. Shape, that's again, I am using the shape of the body, but it's not, that's not the grabbing thing, that's not the main thing. Texture, texture, not the texture of the subject. This is going to be the texture of the paint. So I'm going to say that's a 4. The texture of the paint, in fact, no, I'm going to move that to a 5, because that's going to be the whole point of the painting. So I'm going off the tighter paintings that I've done before, going more into something a bit more impressionist to capture that dancing, moving, flowing atmosphere that I want. Colour. I am playing with colour quite a bit in this. So 5. Composition, 4. It is important making sure I get moving round, but it's not the thing that's making the painting. The composition isn't making the painting, it's the texture and the colour that I'm aiming for. Okay, hopefully now you're starting to see how I'm making my decisions using these prompts, and you've had a couple of times to have a go yourself at those. It requires a little bit of thinking about and planning, and it may not seem obvious straight away, and it's only when you actually start thinking about what you're trying to achieve in the painting that the prompts become obvious. The point of doing this is to help you move away from having an image and doing a straight copy of it. What you're doing is you're actually using the decisions that have been made by the original artist. The composition, the lighting, all those sorts of things, they were made by the original artist, and you're missing a whole section of actually producing a piece of artwork by taking that and copying it straight as it is. So you may take it and change it, and take it and do something else with it. That is fantastic as well, but to actually start from scratch, from the subject right through to the lighting, the composition, everything right through to the finished painting, gives you more ownership over what you're actually painting. I hope that makes sense. Right, so there's my planning sheets done. I hope you have fun planning yours, and I'll see you in a bit. Here we have exercise 3, painting. You may have noticed during the recording of the painting of it that I made decisions throughout the painting. I was constantly thinking back to what movement was I trying to capture, what adjectives was I trying to capture. And I said at the beginning, I don't want to make it a realistic just copy of a photograph. I wanted to capture some sort of atmosphere in there. So all the decisions I made whilst I was painting were along those lines. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with changing things up all the way through. We've done using the figure as a subject, a noun. We've described it. We've put verbs with it, deciding what it's doing. Now we can start to look at what's actually happening further into the painting. I did get a little bit towards that with this one. And I think once you actually get into it, you can't help but take it that step further, decide what else is in there, how you can bring different elements in. It just naturally happens. That's what I'm going to be doing in the next one, exploring a scene with the figure in. I hope you're enjoying the course so far. We're nearly at the end of the first section of the figure. We're pretty much making sentences with the figure now. The well-lit lady was balancing on the rock. You've got 2 nouns, verbs, adjectives. That's where we're at. We're making sentences now. With the next step, we're going to progress a little bit further and start doing paragraphs in exercise 4. Thanks very much. Have a go, and I'll see you in the next exercise. Bye.